here. So let's move on to the Las Vegas Raiders, Adam. Obviously, kept Antonio Pierce, made that mistake in the past where they had that coach whose name is escaping me, Rick. Who was it?
Rick Bisiccia.
Rick Bisiccia, yeah, he did really well, and then they decided to not keep him on. They hired another coach, and then the same thing happened when Antonio Pierce came in, but they decided to give him the job, which I think was rightly so. Expected them to try and draft a quarterback in the draft. They didn't go that direction. They brought in Gardner Minshew. They have got Aiden O'Connell as well, who impressed as well, but they've named Gardner Minshew as the starter, Adam. We've seen Minshew in the league now for a fair few years. We sort of know his ceiling. We know he's got that aura and personality. So what can we expect with this Raiders team with Minshew at the helm?
I think that was probably one of the most obvious announcements, wasn't it? That he was going to be the starter. It kind of felt like that was where it was always going to go. I think that Minshew is someone who can do okay. Like, I mean, we've seen it enough, haven't we? We know that he can. He's a decent passer. He'll get you a certain amount of wins, but he won't push you on much to sort of like the idea of Gardner Minshew being a playoff quarterback feels a little bit unlikely. And the only thing I would say, because I don't think that means that the Raiders have got no chance of getting in the playoffs, because I think they're going to rely on their defense quite a lot in order to be able to do anything. Obviously, they've got Mason Crosby there. They've now brought in Christian Wilkins, which is, huge signing.
Crosby.
Sorry, Max Crosby. Yeah, who did I say?
Mason Crosby.
Mason Crosby. Yeah,
it's because we were just
bring him in and play
defense.
Because we were talking.
I think it's because we were talking about Mason Graham off air before.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It's got into your head there. Yeah.
So yeah, Max Crosby. You've got Christian Wilkins there, massive signing from Miami, which I think is really going to help them on the defense as well. I didn't really feel like they lost that much on the defense, to be honest. I thought they did pretty well with keeping who they needed to, and yeah, I think that's probably where they're going to be their strongest. Obviously, they've brought in some good weapons in like Brock Bowers. I mean, that's someone who's a really exciting tight end that will be interesting to see how they do. They've still got Michael Mayer as well, who I think is a very good tight end. We thought was the number one tight end for the year before. So yeah, I feel like their thing is that Minshew is not great. He's okay. He's solid. He kind of feels a bit Jimmy Garoppolo type, which is weird because that's what they've just sort of got away from. So that's where it feels a little bit strange. But yeah, I think they're going to rely on the defense heavily.
Well, they also lost Josh Jacobs, didn't they, as well? I believe, is it Samir White is going to be the starting running back for them, who did look pretty good last year. Sky, Antonio Pierce, he gives me Dan Campbell vibes, that sort of like players buy into him. I think he's from the area as well, isn't he? Like he has past history with the Raiders. I can't remember off the top of my head what that history is, whether he played for them or etc., or if he played at all for that matter. That's escaping me. But how important was it for the Raiders didn't make the same mistakes as they did in the past with that ex-coach and that they kept him on? Because it did seem like he really galvanized his team down the stretch last season.
Yeah, I think we all said exactly what you said in terms of last time they should have, not made the mistake that they did. But I see more from Pierce as a head coach. I mean, when Adam spoke about the pass rush with Crosby and Wilkins, there's also, I always mess up his name, Malcolm Kuntz. He was really good on the back end of the year, and that for me that was almost Pierce's coaching. He had more quarterback hits in weeks 14 to 16 than he had the rest of the season. So there were some young guys who were really coming on. And the reason that he sticks in my head is because it was that Christmas Day game against the Chiefs. The Raiders needed a win to get to the playoffs, and he, got like 3 sacks. And you were just like, right, he's obviously building a culture here. Maybe it's almost like people who are forgotten or not appreciated by the rest of the league now can maybe go to somewhere like a Raiders, like a Gardner Minshew, who was only 1 4th down away from making the playoffs with the Colts. So, they've got a decent chance. I mean, to be honest, me looking at them, I don't really rate them as a team, but I kind of at least acknowledge that they're making the right steps to try and improve. So whilst I don't think they'll make it, like at least you look at their team and go, yeah, there is some talent. I think as much as we all spoke about Brock Bowers and his talent coming out of Georgia, I was still a bit baffled by that. I know you can go with a 2 tight end set and he's completely different. to Maya, but you know, it just felt like, but I'll probably be proved wrong in that one. But I just think in general, at least they're being bold and doing something different. I think the Raiders have been a franchise historically which will maybe try and do things that others have done maybe 5 years prior. And they're always sort of on the back foot. So at least they're doing it their own way for once, which is nice to see.
Like you said, picking Brock Bowers in the first round this year, you know, a lot of people expect them to move up to go and get a quarterback or draft a quarterback at their position they're in. I'm going to talk about this because Gareth, our producer, spoke about this to me on WhatsApp, that the idea that they've gone with Minshew is that the fact that they are happy to sort of get a poor draft pick, whether it be Minshew or O'Connell, and maybe line up the idea of Dak Prescott at the offseason next year and then have a low draft pick as well to be able to pick a quality player. I mean, either of you can answer this or take the lead on this. What do you think of the validity of that? Do you think that could be an idea that the Raiders sort of run with at some point?
Yeah, I think that they, again, probably the normal Raiders thing to do would have been to trade silly amount of picks and go and reach on a quarterback. So maybe, as much as I said what I said about Bowers, it's good they've done something different. So I guess that's possible in terms of then getting someone else. But just for me, if I was them drafting, I probably would have, especially when you lose someone like Josh Jacobs. I think Fuaga was still on the board at that time. I think he went to the Saints to pick after. And it would have been good for the O-line. I think it's always nice when you're sort of having a change of game plan in the run game to get a good young O-line prospect in, especially with a quarterback like a Minshew where you're, you know, he's a game manager. So you need a strong O-line. But I'm sure Adam's got his opinion as well.
No, I was just quickly looking at the cap space for next year. They're not bad. They're kind of like middle of the league. So they're in a kind of like a spot where they could go out and make a big splashy signing if they move some things around. It just so yeah, I mean something like that would probably work. Maybe that is the idea. You never know. That could be what they're looking at. But yeah, I mean, look, Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, they're not the future. That's when it comes to this. If you sort of look at, because Tom Telesco is the new general manager, he came in from the Chargers, and you just sort of think the way that he did it, where they were quite a, you know, they were getting high draft picks for a couple of years, and then they picked their guy because Justin Herbert was there. So it kind of feels like that's more the sort of route that I think that they might go down, because that's kind of the route that Tom Telesco's gone down. But yeah, I mean, the idea of being able to take someone like Dak, if he's available, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I do think you need to get all your other pieces like sorted out first before you go and make a really big money sort of quarterback signing them.